Kia ora, I'm Jane Yee, and welcome to This is Kiwi, a podcast series brought to you by Kiwibank and the Spinoff Podcast Network. In this series, I'll meet with incredible New Zealanders who've achieved remarkable things, uncovering what makes them tick and the influences that have helped to shape their ideas. Most importantly, This is Kiwi will bring you knowledge for better, the incredible power of determination, passion, and self-belief that we can all learn from and apply to our own lives every day. So join me on this unique journey as we celebrate the Kiwi spirit and learn what it takes to make a difference. This is Kiwi, where ordinary people do extraordinary things. Today, I'm joined by Louis Davis, a husband, father, adventurer, and hugely successful content creator. With nearly 2 million followers across TikTok and Instagram, Louis is cutting through the noise by sharing moments of the everyday life he enjoys with his whānau, his wife Ashley, and their 2 daughters, Anakiwa and Kānoa. Louis' journey in monetizing social media started with a university marketing project long before brands understood the value of user-generated content. He then spent a decade working in the corporate world, and after that, well, lockdowns hit, and he once again found himself storytelling on social media, only this time the brands didn't need convincing to come on board. What's followed since for Louis are 2 gorgeous daughters and a huge online audience who've fallen in love with his authentic blend of humour, family life, and heartfelt kōrero. Making a career from making content has meant Louis is able to be at home with his kids, and he's super intentional about being present with them and determined to show a side of fatherhood that's outside of the stereotypes. It's a niche on social media Louis wishes didn't exist, and he hopes one day it won't be a niche anymore. It'll be the norm. And if that day comes and it means Louis can't rely on his following to pay his way anymore, well, he'll be perfectly happy about that. Because as you're about to hear, he's very clear about what he wants and needs in life, and it's not social media stardom. This is a really beautiful kōrero about whānau, fatherhood, and a beloved staffy called Theo. Here's Louis Davis on This is Kiwi. Kia ora, Louis. Welcome to This is Kiwi. We're really excited to have you in the studio today. Thank you for coming in.
Kia ora, thanks for having me.
Look, you've got nearly 2 million followers on social, so there's going to be a lot of people listening to this, watching this, who are familiar with your work. But I'm hoping today we can get to know a little bit more about the Louis beyond our screens. You have described yourself in your social bios as husband, father, adventurer of the sea. Tell me about those roles.
It's pretty accurate. That's in that order. My foundation of my life is my commitment to my childhood sweetheart. Met my wife when I was 15. Everything good in my life comes after that, and then my bubbas, my absolute taonga, my 2 daughters and my little staffy. And then my love of the sea. I grew up by the sea. I've just moved home by the sea. And amateur spear fisherman, diver, but very enthusiastic.
And professionally, you are a content creator.
Yeah, stumbled into that at university. I had a lecturer. This is a long time ago, before the content creator industry as we know started. I stumbled into that and had this crazy lecturer. He's actually just retired. Shout out David McKee from the University of Waikato. And he used to dance when he walked into class, and he'd give out money, and it was crazy. But he was so passionate about what he taught in marketing, and he gave everyone in the 300 person lecture an A+ on an assignment. He's like, you got 3 weeks, don't worry about the grade. Just go take something that you love and go out there and convince someone else to pay you for it.
Wow.
And a mate of mine sitting next to me, who's very similar to me in lots of ways, we just started making what later became known as vlogs. And we started telling the story of our student life, our student experience. And we, in a few weeks, we had more followers than university. A couple of months, we had more followers than any university in New Zealand. And then we started working with brands, and that's how me and Jules paid our whole way through university. This is at a time where the industry as we know it doesn't exist. Brands are going why would I give you that money? And we'd have to say, well, how much would you spend on posters this year? And they'd be like, this amount. And then we would say, well, give us that, and we'll guarantee you we'll engage more people, and we'll show you who.
We can show you who we're engaging. We can give you actual numbers. You're not just guessing at how many people are walking.
And so we're having these weird meetings with these big brands at a time where they're like, we don't really know what it is that you do and what value you provide. And then I get towards the end of uni, and I start thinking, man, I need to get a real job. Like, I don't know where this goes. You know, I'm trying to walk a path that doesn't exist yet. And I think I just got nervous. You know, I proposed to my now wife, you know, at the end of university, and I was like, man, I don't know where this goes. I don't know where this leads. And I kind of gave up. And then I watched, you know, my friends, my peers, you know, persevere, working their job and still making content and stuff. And it all worked out for them. You know, I still have friends today that are making content full time because I admire them, you know, they went after their dreams. And then, but that itch was always there, you know, to make stories, tell stories, make videos. And then COVID rolls around, which is like the origin story of every TikToker that grew followings, and I just started telling stories again. And that just continued to grow and grow and grow. And then eventually just grew out of hand. You know, I think we average over 200 million views a month, and we have an opportunity to tell huge stories, meaningful stories, and eventually it became enough where I could do it as a job. I remember the first time I was flying back from a whānau hui in Australia, and it says your occupation on the arrival card, and I wrote that I was a content creator. And when I got off that plane, I just started acting like that every day. I was still working at the university at that time. I still had a job that I enjoyed, but I just started approaching it, you know, my commitment, my diligence to storytelling and that craft online as I approached it as a job, and then everything else unfolded in that way. And it's just my highest aspiration with content creation is not been to have more followers or money. I'm not motivated by those things. My highest aspiration is just to be at home with my kids. And I've been given that gift. You know, granted, it's taken millions of people to give me that, and I'm so grateful for that. But I've reached the end goal. My only thing is I just want to stay home with my kids, and that's just what I want to maintain.
Did you have that plan before you had kids? Like, you knew you wanted to have kids and you were like, I want to be at home with them? Or was it their arrival that made you go, damn, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I was living in Wellington, like away from where I grew up, away from all of my family. And our first kid arrived, and I knew in my heart, like, this isn't right. You know, I grew up around, you know, so many special, important people. I was raised by many people, and I wanted that for my kids. And so that feeling just started growing in my heart, which is I need to be home. And we just reverse designed it from there. And we realized this could be a path for us to go home. And that's how it's all worked out. It's pretty crazy.
So, you know, you're a stay-at-home dad, and that's, having been a stay-at-home mum, that's full-time work in and of itself. But then you're also doing the content creation, which is probably pretty busy as well. How do you balance it all?
I think, first of all, if you're passionate about storytelling, you know, people that make vlogs or people that make skits, like, that part comes easily. So that's like your hobby.
Yeah.
And if you get lucky in the in between, it can be also where you generate revenue as well. And so I get to be home, I get to do things with my family, and also while I'm telling the story of fatherhood and being a stay-at-home dad, you know, I've been blessed with the opportunity to just have time with my family. Yeah, it's a mind-blowing thing because I want it for everyone. I realize it's not possible, so I'm just real grateful for while I have it right now. Yeah,
and it's a real job. Like, I know, you know, there are a lot of people who are like, this is a flash in the pan thing, but you could actually tell us that from, you know, 10 years ago or more, you were doing content creation. You took a break. You came back. It's still there. In fact, it's bigger than ever, and it's not showing any signs of slowing.
Yeah.
Is there a plan B, or are you just like, this is it? This is what I do?
I'll take life as it comes, but I know that I still enjoy it, and it's always just been a good guide for me in my life. Is what I do with my day, is it meaningful, first of all, and do I enjoy it? And so, yeah. And I think that is shifting. You know, younger people definitely think of this as a job. You know, they see it because they understand the economics of it. It's like you're never at Christmas gonna have your grandparents or your parents understand your job. Like, when you explain it to them, you know, like, if anyone's ever tried to explain NFTs to their great grandma, that's like trying to explain being a content creator. Like, it's like they don't want to know, and then they always forget, and they ask you every Christmas. So I've just started making up different answers for my Nana. I just say different things to her.
Is Nana on TikTok?
Nah. But even if she was, I'm sure she wouldn't remember, and she'd think of something else next Christmas. Yeah.
What are some of the things you've told her that you do?
All sorts. I'm in marketing. I'm a dancer.
All true.
Yeah, all true. I'm a diver. I just say random things.
You're like an inspirational speaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about that though, because your account is pretty inspiring, particularly for dads. There's heaps of mum content on, parenting content, mostly driven by mums on social media. There's plenty of dads out there doing it too. What makes you a little bit different, do you think?
I think that there's this story we tell about Māori men, and it's that we're the athlete, we're the warrior, the aggressor, the protector, the provider. Like there's an archetype for what we think of as the Māori father, and I don't think that is the case. I had a very affectionate, playful, interested dad. I had a dad that was obsessed with me. Not the obvious stuff like being at my sports games, but like, whatever I was interested in, like I could show him Pokemon cards. I could sit with him and talk about my favorite TV shows. Like whatever I wanted to do, he wanted to do. Like he played games with me. Like he was just obsessed with me. And like there's this cool whakaaro that I've read about, which is like in early settler journals when they came to New Zealand, like they would record their observations of Māori men and how it was considered chiefly to always have kids hanging off you, running under your legs, and like, to be playful and affectionate and silly with your kids. And I've always resonated with that, and then realized I see that nowhere now in the representation of who we are. And I think telling the story that I do, which is like, dancing to songs with my daughters, like, being playful, affectionate, silly with them, as like looking the way that I look can be quite jarring for people, and I think that's what's interesting. That's my niche, or that's what people like it's my point of difference. And my hope actually is that I cannibalize myself, and it's not a niche one day, so it's become so normal and so uninteresting that all Māori men are like this. It's so normal that it isn't an interesting niche online, because this is happening all the time. So I want that to happen.
How do you find the confidence to not conform to those stereotypes you mentioned? The athlete dad, or I don't know, the businessman in a suit and tie dad.
I think first of all, it's easy because this was how my dad was. He was so playful and silly and always cracking jokes, always wanted to do stuff, always wanted to be present. He would always miss something to be at something for me. And you can go where you know. And if you have a dad that's what you watch, you'll find it easy to do that. And that's the privilege that I have. And I hope that my children watch that from me, and they do that with their kids. And then maybe there's a chance that someone online watches that too and takes something from that, and has an opportunity to have an impact on them and their kids. But all I can focus on right now is the way that my dad focused on loving me and looking after me, and just focus that on my kids. And maybe some good and maybe some impact will come out of that on others. But if I just focus there with those that love me, those that need me.
So do you consider yourself a role model?
I've been wrestling with that a lot heaps lately, and I wish I wasn't. I wish I was only responsible to my wife and my kids, but in the times that we're living in, people expect more from people with followings. When people can't get the action they want to see from politicians or their leaders, they turn to, or even athletes or actors or whoever, they turn to creators and say, bro, you got to do something. You can say something to people like, where are you? And I understand that hurt, and I understand that frustration. And I think I'm wrestling with that because I want to let people down, and then you feel like, man, I hate that I'm being told what to do. But you also understand that hurt, and people want to see a better world. And so I'm reluctantly learning to accept that it's not a choice. When we have an opportunity to say things, we have to say things. And then wrestling of all that, we're on display for everyone, while we're figuring that out, our hypocrisies, our contradictions, if you, you say something and people go, yeah, but you did this, or you think like that happens. And I also just don't want the instinct to be to defend myself or anything, like I just know people want the world to be a better place with less harm. And so that's the tension that all creators are experiencing right now. And the bigger your following is, the more people will give you that responsibility. So yeah, that's
super complex, eh? Like there's definitely a lot more going on in this world than I think a lot of people would suspect. It's one thing to sit on one end of your phone and scroll through, but when you're actually the person making the content and doing it a lot of the time, there's a lot of moving parts that you have to take into consideration, not least of which is, yourself and your family, and how much you expose yourself and your family online, I guess. How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's real tough, because I'm making a decision as a parent for something that the way that I want to live my life, and my family comes along for the ride, and that happens in all things, like if your dad was a rowing coach, you're probably going to row, if your parents were a pastor, you're probably going to church every Sunday, and there's harm in that, like in these places we take our kids, and they just have to weigh up the net positive versus the net negative, which is, it is a curated, existence or stories that we tell the world, my children are home, they are safe, and we just have to weigh that up and continuously weigh that up. And maybe one day we'll reach a time where we're like, we don't want to be family content creators, and then maybe that will come. I believe my core mission, what I talked about before, the story I want to tell about fatherhood kind of guides me at the moment. But yeah, if we reach a time where we feel like it's unsafe or it's not the future for us, then we'll just move away from it. Like the skills or the passion for storytelling, like there'll be other things, you can tell other stories. Life is full of stories to tell. And this is just a story that means something to me at the moment that I want to tell.
You live in a pretty small community. Everyone must know that you're a pretty big shot,
Well, where I live in the middle of nowhere, and so you either knew me growing up, which you make a point of treating me no differently.
Reminding you constantly.
Yeah. Or you're retired and you just don't care. Yeah, I was having ice cream with this old couple on the beach with my daughter, and I can't remember what I said, but they asked what I do, and I actually tried to explain to them. And then they started showing me, so you're like this. And they showed me this cat meme account, which they love, which is like, so you make these? And I was like, that's, I guess. But yeah, basically. And they're just fast. And I was trying to explain to her. And this is an interesting moment where they obviously really like that one meme page. So like, maybe it's the only meme page they found as an elderly retired couple, so they think it's the only page, but yeah.
I tell you what, they'll be getting served a lot of cat content if they're just consuming that one account. Then everything that comes up in their sponsored post will be cat content, because that's all I'm getting at the moment.
It's funny, they took a photo of me at the end. I was like, why do you want this photo? I was like, just in case. What do you mean just in case? I don't even know what they mean. Just in case we need it.
That's so funny. Just in case you get like super famous.
Yeah, that I start making a crossover into the cat community, the cat niche. Yeah.
Do they all know your KFC story?
Yeah, it's interesting that still follows me around. Like
Tell us the story.
Yeah, so for those of you that have got married, it's a long day. Most of us get married in summer, so it's hot and long, and you're tired and hungry. And for some extra reason, we were taking photos at different locations, and we drove past KFC, and I asked to stop, and I set everyone up to take a photo. This is my content brand I've had since I was a child, and I just thought it'd be an interesting moment to capture. And I changed my profile picture when we got back in the car. And my wife was very angry. That was the first photo I shared of our private wedding.
Is she still angry?
She was actually for quite a while. But yeah, that has followed me. It went viral, like it's everywhere. Like, the next morning I had people trying to arrange interviews for the New York Times, Huffington Post, Daily Mail, Mirror, all the New Zealand radio stations, and it was like, it's out of it. That still follows me around. It's still something that comes up.
I don't reckon you're the only person who's got a wedding photo outside KFC, hey?
Like, nah, it's just,
surely.
It still follows me around. Yeah, but Yeah.
I think she's.
It's a good two truths, one lie moment.
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
totally. My first stop with my first child and new baby in the car on the way home from the hospital was the KFC drive-through. I understand the pull. So in terms of this being a viable career for you, how much has your financial situation changed going from like the corporate world into content creation?
Yeah, I think was kind of where we first started was when our second baby was on the way. We just worked out what's the minimum amount of money we need to just be home with our kids. We just started there, and we sacrificed and saved and prepared for that over a 2-year period actually, to just both be home for a year, and we'd come home to live like where we grew up, and that was kind of our first plan. But then like content creation kind of picked up and sped up, and it's looked after us more than we could have ever imagined. You know, got an awesome team at We Are Tenzing that have made some amazing things happen, and it's definitely a viable career. You definitely don't need to have millions of followers before you start earning an income or even a full-time income. It's like the more meaningful stories you tell, the more you reach, the more you grow though, like the more opportunities that come. You know, when you have attention, that's something you can trade in this day and age. It's very valuable in a world that's full of so much noise. I guess your question, I guess the biggest shift is you went from like selling a year of your life at a time. Like, you know, this is the salary I agree to work for a year in this place, in this space with my wairua and my time. And then you move into a different space, which is that people pay a price for the value of your audience. And that's out of it, because you can earn periods where you earn no money, and then periods where you earn lots of money. And it's just that if you come from like my upbringing, you know, like it's a pretty scary or out of it way of thinking about money, you know, and it's just different from the matrix I grew up in. Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood. What was little Louie like?
Yeah, I had awesome parents. You know, I had like lots of experiences. You know, I had parents that always wanted to do stuff that were adventurous. You know, lots in the outdoors, like just lots of sport. But yeah, just a very normal upbringing. I had hardworking parents that just wanted a nice life for us, but like their life was committed to serving their community, and so it still is to this day. So we didn't have like super nice things, but we had a great life. Yeah.
What did they do to serve the community?
My parents like do youth work for an organisation called Te Ora Hau. My pop's 40 plus years. Then this is the calling of their life.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so lots of amazing values come from that. You know, it's a privilege to be generous. It's a privilege to serve, and your life will be full and like meaningful if you wrestle with those things appropriately. Yeah.
Yeah. So what sort of things, I mean, obviously apart from what you've already said, but what sort of values have you taken from your parents that you want to emulate with your own children?
First of all, just being super present, you know, being around, having the time for it. You know, we can often make the role of what can we give to our kids, you know, what life can we build for them, you know, or what can we leave behind for them, but instead, what about just being super present? And that was my parents, you know, always interested, always around, and I guess that's what I want. I had a father that role modeled loving my mum, you know, and I know that's not everyone's situation, but how important that singular po has been for my life, where I watched my dad love my mum my whole life. Yeah, my pops is my hero, and everything he does is so meaningful to me. But that as a singular thing has been so important, because I, you know, to honor my wife, to love my wife, is to also, you know, honor and love my children. Yeah.
It's beautiful. You struck a chord with me. It's really beautiful. It's really important. It's really important. I come from a family where my parents are not so much like your parents, and you're really fortunate, and I think it's amazing that you see that for what it is, acknowledge how significant that is, and also doing that for your tamariki. So, ka pai. Whew. Back to the money. What sort of conversations did you have around money at home with your parents when you were growing up? Did you have conversations about money?
No, we didn't have conversations about money. We had a stable life. My parents gave me everything I needed and even really wanted. Like they created the illusion that everything was easy. Everything was all good. But like something my parents always talked about was prioritizing the experience, which is a privileged position to be able to do that. I acknowledge that, but to have the ice cream or to go on the camping trip or like go and do different things, and parents can be real critical about lots of things that you're doing your decisions. But one thing, like my parents have never criticized the decision to travel or go do something or try something. They've always believed in the importance of that, and I think that is kind of how me and Ash lived our life. In our first few years of marriage, we went to 30-something countries, when we should have been saving for a house and things. But, we don't regret those decisions. And I think that's what we learned. I watched like a pretty traditional approach to like long-term finance, like work, mortgage, pay it down. My dad's real handy, so like buying, renovating, selling houses was something he could do because he can do all the stages of that. But I didn't see an example of selling your worth or selling something that wasn't your time. Like, I didn't see that until I was an adult. I've seen other people that work in different spaces where they sell their value or they sell something different. And I didn't see that. I don't view it as a bad thing now, but it also can be a crazy thing to watch when you think about how hard your parents work or how hard some people work and the trade-off or what they sacrifice to do that. Some employers are really, really lucky to have employees like that.
Tell me about your girls.
Yeah, so first my son, Theodore, he's our staffy. I hate that his name's Theodore. We trained him in Reo Māori, but that was the name that Ash wanted to name him.
I'm sorry that I left out. I'm sorry I left out Theodore. When
It's my first son. I love him to bits. He paved the way for my two children to arrive. He's my first boy, my son, and he's getting pretty slow and grumpy now. He's not that old. He's 6, but I think he's gotten used to the beach lifestyle. We don't mandate any of his walks anymore, so he's starting to. You watch, I'm going to talk heaps about my dog, and I'm going to gloss over my kid. But that's Theo boy. And then I have Ana Kiwa, who is named after the place down in Totoranui, where some people listening might know as the campus for Outward Bound. One of the things they believe is Kiwa the Taniwha. The Māori name for the Pacific Ocean is Te Moana Nui Akiwa, and we believe Kiwa is one of the mightiest Taniwha, and yeah, that's my Ana Kiwa. And then we have Kano. Kano was born at home. It was amazing. So proud of my wife, and everything was amazing. We were just at home, and then that night after baby was born, just started spewing, just couldn't eat, and rushed to hospital. And they put us in a chopper, and they took us to Starship, and it was the worst first day of your child ever, and it was like my family had to say goodbye to my daughter. Like we didn't know if she was going to make it. She was born with her puku was twisted, and so she couldn't process anything, and so her life was at risk. And we went through this real traumatic experience where we didn't know if we were going to have our taonga, and the amazing staff at Starship, they saved our daughter. They saved her life. She had heart surgery as a 2-day-old baby, where they opened up her puku and operated on her, and they saved her, and she just got stronger and stronger every day from there. And then we got to take her home, and we get to enjoy her now. We get to watch her grow. We get to love her and be loved by her, and Yeah, when we were thinking about how to name her, we were well, I think I was looking at like translations for like something around the whakaaro of like things being twisted or something like that, and my wife didn't like that, and we chose kano and the whakaaro with it to live your life without limitations. You know, to live life without expectations or worry, or just to go forth and live. And that's the gift my daughter has been given. And we're thankful that every day. She just had her last checkup with the surgeon last week, and she's all good.
Awesome. That's so beautiful. That's hard stuff, though. It's super full-on stuff, and you live your life quite publicly. How important is it to share the hard things with your followers as well?
It's hard, eh? I definitely have shared hard things, but is it hard if I'm willing to share it, you know? And so are the real hard things the stuff that I don't share? Because it is a curated life, you know. We do make this, no matter how hard something is, you know, we make the decision to upload something. And so I always try to remind people that it is a curated life. You know, whatever you see, like everyone has hardship and struggle and worries and so always remember that when you see someone's life online. And then I think it's okay to share a hard thing that you've gone through with, as long as, and I can be guilty of this, is not skipping going through the hard thing with my wife, with my kids, with my parents, with my whānau, with my friends, because you can get a lot of support instantly. Millions of people can shower you in awhi and support, and but you can't skip over going through the hard stuff, the pain, the resolving with your loved ones. That part has to come first, and then once that's tau, you can think about how you want to involve people because you want to help or share
Because other people go through hard things, and sometimes seeing that stuff, particularly I think on accounts where you're used to seeing a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, a lot of fun, and then you can kind of see that sort of more serious, difficult stuff. Reminds them you're human, and it can be relatable for people, who've also been through similar things. Did you get lots of messages from people who have been in similar positions?
I get messages from people all the time about, like what I said, like they put you in like a role model position.
Yeah.
Nice messages, mean messages, or people policing you, like how you should or shouldn't have done something. Yeah,
that's cool, when they've seen like literally 15 seconds of your day.
Yeah.
And then they're telling you how you should suck it.
Yeah, I think it's way worse for mum creators. Like I think there's just way more normal to write something judgmental on me.
Why is that?
I think that my bar is so low that I look amazing whatever I do. So I can be real average, but I could be real average compared to my wife, who's amazing. And I'll just get showered with praise. Because
you're a dad doing the thing that most people expect mothers to be doing.
Yeah, like literally millions of people will watch me because I get my kids dressed in the morning, and I eat with them, and I feed them, and I sit with them. Like that's kind of where we're at. I talk about that whenever I have a chance, actually. Yeah, that's why I don't make a Father's Day video each year. Because I always use it as a chance to talk about mums. And I always talk about that exact point. There's a video about it every year on Father's Day, which is like, what I'm doing is not exceptional. And, there's a mum out there who's mum and dad right now. And that's a powerful, meaningful story that should be sponsored by major brands. It just happens that mine is.
How do you balance working with brands when you've got such a strong sense of what your kaupapa is with your account? How do you make sure that they align with what you're doing and that sort of thing? Because it can be, a bit of a tricky area to navigate.
Yeah. I guess just that have a compass for like, just start as what you already eat or where you already go or where you already shop. Just start with your own life, because at least you know that, this is my life. you know.
And you can be genuine about what you're supporting.
To get there, yeah. And that's kind of how I navigate that.
It sounds like quite an idyllic lifestyle that you have with your it's everything that you wanted. Tell me what like your average day is like.
Kiwa and Kano both wake up at 7, same time. Boom. Ash is out during that time on her run. And then so I'll set Kiwa up with something, with her kai or something she wants to do, or she loves the Wiggles. Side story, the Wiggles all follow me on social media now.
Wow.
And it's part of my long play to make my daughter's dream come true of meeting all the Wiggles. Yeah.
Those guys have got a good
Luch,
thing going.
So hi, John. You watching this?
Simon's still in there? Is he still?
Anthony. You think of Anthony?
No, I'm thinking of Simon
Oh no, Simon's a new Wiggle. Yeah,
the new Wiggle.
Oh,
I mean, new from he's still been there a while.
He's a middle Wiggle. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah. Anyway, a normal day, wake up, have family time together in the morning, eat breakfast, hang out. We might go to the beach, 9:30, Cardinal goes to sleep. And then we do something with Anakiwa. Kano wakes up from a morning nap. We do something as a family. We do something with family, or one of me or Ash will peel off and do some admin.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back together, eat lunch, and then Kano will go to sleep. And then Kiwa will have something quiet time. So it might be laying on the couch, or sometimes we'll put her in the car to put her to sleep. We'll go do something quiet with Kiwa, and the other person will do their admin. Right, afternoon rolls around, something together as a family. It's starting to get hot, so being outside is difficult, so it'd be something kind of slow around the house. Evening routine, baths, all that sort of stuff. Nanais, kids go to bed at 6. Editing first, so the upload schedule is ready for the day. So it's kind of when our work day starts. And then we're real bad at this, but trying to spend some intentional time together after the work stuff happens, because all of our quality time is everyone together all day. And so, but I'm not going to lie, it's often just lying near each other on our phones.
Yeah,
that's
That's just the modern world.
Yeah,
that's just how we.
Yeah, but my mother-in-law comes out and usually stays once a week for like a night or two, and that's real cool. I'll go diving or fishing at least once a week. Ash is a passionate F45er, so she'll drive an hour away to the nearest town where there is to go do it. And she also sometimes just stays in town and does Ash things.
I'm just like trying to do the maths on that. That's like an F165er
by
the time you take account.
But she loves it. She loves it.
That's all right. Dad's home with the kids.
Yeah, but we just do this week on. We do this week on loop, and then in the warmer months like now, like we always have visitors on the weekend and stuff. So people come and it's cool. We have visitors all weekend, and it's a very visitable place. It's something that people want to come. If you say you should come, it's not like we live somewhere you don't want to visit.
Yeah, sounds awesome. You are living your dream at the moment. What are some of when we talk about money, what are some of the things that you would like for your daughters and whatever children come thereafter to know in terms of foundational
and Theo.
knowledge? And Theo, of course, Theo. Do you have money conversations with Theo?
Yeah, he's probably the most responsible person in this house. He doesn't eat his dinner when it first comes out. He rations it out over the 24-hour period until his bowl gets refilled. Yeah, he's a smart cookie.
Smart.
For my kids, I honestly think I'll pass on the same thing, which is you be kind and generous, which aren't great financial principles by the book. You be kind and you be generous.
I think they're pretty good universal principles.
Yeah, true. We're on the same page. And you be good to people and they'll be good to you. One of the most important financial rules I think you can have is that your relationships are one of your most strongest financial assets. And so you look after people, you're good to people, meet as many people as you can, cast the net as wide as you possibly can. And good things will happen for you. And then I just want my kids to understand the value of stuff. And when you're a content creator, you can lose sight of that because you get sent stuff.
It's a really good point.
You can get sent, like we have clothes turn up at our house every day, toys, like all of their baby products, like everything, like just comes because we have an audience, and we just have to make sure if we continue to do this, we might not, but that they understand the value of stuff. Yeah.
If there's one thing Kiwi could do this week to start achieving their goals, what would you recommend that be?
You need to write a budget, and if that seems scary and overwhelming, and you don't know what to do, just use an AI bot, use ChatGPT or Bard or something. And then if you want to be more advanced in that, talk to someone who can help you write a budget that writes budgets. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the budgets that AI can run. They're pretty amazing. They can be pretty personal, and yeah, that's where I'd start. So you know where your money goes. And if you don't stick to your budget, there's something about you actually feel just better. You feel more in control of your life when you have a budget.
It gives you the opportunity to take stock of where you're at, right?
Yeah, even if it's real bad, which I think is a lot of people are feeling right now. Yeah, at least you know where you're at.
And then you can just start ordering orders.
Yeah.
And improve that budget.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, I have actually learned a lot from you here today, and it's been really amazing talking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Give my love to your girls and to Theo. This is Modern Fatherhood. This is Louis Davis. This is Kiwi. Mm-hmm.